The ultimate deck podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The ultimate deck podcast. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Wade and Shane on the last week of October. She ended in like a lamb, out like a lion.
Why?
Okay? Because, do you not know that saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So that usually that's how spring comes in March. It's like in like a lion, out like a lamb, or vice versa. So you've heard the saying, but you don't understand what it means? Is that what the blank stare is about?
Sure. Well, maybe I don't know what it means, but I guess like it means that like if it went out like a lion, that would mean it went out like strong.
No, but maybe it's me that doesn't understand what this whole thing means. Lamb, it's like calm, nice. So it came in like a lamb. The weather was nice. It was like warm, sunny, no signs of winter on the horizon. Goes out like a lion, ferocious, nasty, whatever, weather-wise. So in March, it's like if March comes in like a lion, it's going to go out like a lamb. So if it's like a shitty, snowy start to the March, it means it's going to end really nice. But if early March is nice, then second winter is on its way.
Gotcha.
At the end of March. Boy, I feel like that's like a explain the joke kind of moment.
Well, I guess I just thought like a lion was stronger. And so this is
maybe I have it wrong, but for 42 years, that's how it's been in my head.
Okay,
so
well then, fine.
October came in really nicely, whatever you want to call it.
Lamb.
And it was like all good. And I know our sales managers were like, this is great. Like we have so many good weeks of like sales are going to crush because we're getting a long, nice fall here. This is going to be so good. And El Nino this and in like a lamb this and all this.
You're wrong.
And then all of a sudden, like overnight, literally, woke up to like, I don't know, 3 inches of snow one morning, like just the other day.
Yeah, you
like,
guys.
What the hell happened here?
So Regina certainly got it worse than Saskatoon did. Regina got more snow and it's colder and
right. Yeah, because Saskatoon got like a skiff. Is that what?
Yeah.
What's a skiff of snow? Is that a skiff?
Well, a skiff would be enough to cover the roads, maybe a little bit of a dusting on the grass.
Yeah,
we
that's
got more
what you
than
got,
that.
Right? More than that.
Yeah,
heavy skiff.
2 inches, inch and a half, but it's gone.
But it's gone
because we had nice weather shortly after.
So Regina's was probably double that. Like it was like maybe not double, but like probably 3 inches of snow, and then the cold kind of stayed, and so not a lot of it's melted away. So it's like sticking around. The first snowfall never stays, and this one looks like it could.
Seems like it might be. You want to know the best part about our team up in Saskatoon? So it snows. The roads are icy, right? That always happens.
Oh, yeah.
Happens every single year that it snows. The first time the roads are icy.
Yeah.
That's because of the temperature. The roads are warm and the snow's cold, and so it melts and makes a layer of ice. So what day was I leaving there? Thursday morning I left Saskatoon to come down here. And the guys came over to me and they asked if we would be removing the tires off the half ton and putting winter tires on. And I was like, no, that's not happening. Those are all seasons. So then one guy starts laughing and was like, all seasons, that's not really even a tire. It's like, it only means 3 season and you need winter tires. And I'm like, well, then go buy them. What? And he was like, what? I was like, well, go buy them. Like, if you don't like the tires we have on the half ton, just go get them. Go buy new ones, put them on. And then when it comes back to summer, we'll put my tires back on. Well, I'm not doing that. And I was like, but I should? Yeah, you should. I was like, well, I'm not. Give yourself some more time when you go on deliveries, I guess. Yeah. The half ton. I was like, guys, that truck doesn't run in the wintertime very much. And for the amount that it does run, I think you should just be more cautious, like learn how to be a better driver.
Yeah, you've got 4x4. You can get going no matter what tires are on there. And as far as stopping, try harder earlier.
I was mad at them. They were like, just go get a new set of tires. I was like, not until those ones are worn off. And the way that truck drives around, we got 3 more years on those tires.
Yeah.
They don't ever wear out.
Do you have $1,200 right now in late October with snow on the ground to go spend on new tires for a truck that doesn't need new tires? Anyway, real thing. Have you ever had a vehicle with studded tires though?
No, but I that's what I told him. I was
like, boy.
Do you have studded tires on?
No, I don't. No, but my wife's old vehicle was a little Kia Sportage. And we had studded tires for her little vehicle.
That's the best.
They're awesome. And then we got rid of her vehicle and got the minivan, and like we put winter tires on the minivan, but
Not
it's
like
still
studded.
a long ways from studded tires.
Studded tires.
are the shit.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Are you going to put them on the minivan?
Nope.
Why?
I don't know. Same reason we're not going to put like
Thing doesn't move.
$1,200. We're talking. I don't have $1,200 anymore than the business does, right? So I don't know. Maybe someday, but not rushing into it. But the van sucks. Like even with winter tires, it does suck on the road. Like the little Kia was so much better. Probably mostly because of the studded tires, but
yeah.
But it was also all-wheel drive, and the van's not, so that also plays into it. But
Yeah.
anyway,
All-wheel drive is a factor as well.
do you get phased by the first, like when summer transitions to winter? Sorry, when pre-snow transitions to snow, is there an adjustment period for you, or is it just like there's just snow on the ground now?
Mm-hmm.
Like I find it weird, but for me, there's not. It's like I can walk. Like it happened this week, the day before, like t-shirt weather, maybe like long sleeve or hoodie weather.
Mm-hmm.
Walk in the house, come out the next day, snow on the ground, ice everywhere. Now you're just like in winter mode, but there's no like shock for me anymore. And clearly for some people there is,
Like,
but it's
I
just
don't like it.
it's just set in for the next 4 to 6 months though. And it's like, you'd think that you'd be like, oh, things change now. It's like, they don't though. Like it's weird to me how just like, it just is what it is, and I don't even think about it too much.
Yeah.
Go outside, it's like, yeah, and I walk more carefully on the sidewalk.
Yeah. So I for sure don't like when that day happens. I'm always like I had a shittier mood that day that it snows.
Yeah.
Because there's accepting.
Yeah.
What was the one saying? It's like there's planning and then there's accepting, and it's like, well, this has now happened, so now you just have to accept this.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no planning around it, or something like that. But anyways, yeah, it snows, and then for me, I'm just like, well, it snowed now. So I don't. It doesn't really change too much for me. Typically, I get blindsided because I don't ever even look at the weather. Like I almost never check the weather to people when people are like, "Whoa, what are you gonna?" Like I show up and I'm wearing shorts the first day it snowed, and they're like, "You're wearing shorts?" I was like, "Well, I had them on," and then I walked out of the house and was like, "Well, shit.
Yeah,
this is a silly outfit, but here we are."
It just seems to me that it changes so much about how it changes everything about your life from summer to winter. Like you have to dress differently. You partake in different activities. The sports change over. You have to drive differently. Like there's all these things about your daily. You don't go outside as much. You're like, everything changes.
No patio beers.
Like everything about your life changes. Yet it's just so normal. It's just like, there's no like change though. Like for me personally, I don't feel the change. It's just like, it just is what it is now.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain what I'm feeling, but I find it strange sometimes. It's like you haven't dealt with this for 6 months, and it's just like, it's just natural from day one. You walk out the door, you're like, yep.
Now winter.
Now
I just drive slower.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like I guess I've done enough winters that I'm not surprised by winter.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
And I
maybe
don't
it's just a sign
have-
of being older.
Yeah, and I don't have any emotional reaction to it. That's not entirely true.
I also
that one day I do. I don't like the very first day it snows.
I also find I gradually transition as far as dressing goes. Like the first day it snows, you walk out of the house, still the same shit I was wearing the day before. Like some canvassy, like summery, like hey dude sandals.
Yep.
Or like not sandals, but like shoes.
Yep.
Hoodie still, no gloves, no toque, and just like walk outside. Like yeah, a little brisk. And it's like the next day, it's like, oh, there's my other jacket that's a little bit heavier, so I changed the jacket over, and then a couple days later, it's like, oh, boots. I'll switch to the boots now. And then like the toque and gloves are still a long ways away.
Yeah.
But I've got started wearing the boots now.
I heard that.
Found the jacket.
I heard you were wearing boots today.
Slow transition.
You haven't tied them. You drugged them. We did that
So-
site visit. You were walking and you're dragging your feet, and I was going to...
Look what I did.
Yeah. You tied a knot where they're too loose.
So I can slip them on and off.
Yeah.
I hate tying my shoes.
You'll have to walk like bigger steps maybe. You have to do some...
High knees.
Yeah, high knees or bum kickers when you're walking.
Yeah. Okay, enough of that nonsense. There's snow on the ground here. There's not in Saskatoon, but soon there will be, and so whatever. Here we are. We still build decks in the winter, by the way.
Building one right now, actually.
Things are happening
In the
still.
cold.
Contractors still work up here.
Did you get your phone charged up enough to post any pictures or videos today?
I just put some juice back into it, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the other day I came walking into the store, and one of our sales guys, Dale, I was going to call him Dave, but his name's Dale.
He'd probably respond to Dave if you actually called him that.
He would respond to most things, I think, even a grunt.
He's such a cheery dude.
Yeah. So he must have cedar shingles on his house. And he was like, I walked in and he was like, what's that video? I called for help and not a what do you need? Nothing. Yeah. It's like, I didn't even get a hello. I just like walked in. He's like, you ever done cedar shingles before? I was like, nope. I've never personally done cedar shingles. He's like, well, I need some cedar shingles replaced. And I'm like, I don't even know how you do it. Like, how would you even pull them out, and how do you get the new ones back in, and how do you not break the ones around it? And it's like, I don't know, Dale. Those are all questions for somebody who has done them before. It sounds like to me. He's like, well, like, I called the guy and he wants to charge like $90 an hour to do it. I feel like that's a bit steep. And I was like, well, how do you know it's steep? You just finished saying you have no idea what's involved in replacing those shingles. How do you know if that's a fair price or not? Who are you to judge? You're being the average homeowner right now who's got no idea how this all works. So he's like, 90 is a bit steep. And I was like, I don't know, Dale. It seems like pretty normal to me.
90 seems like a very reasonable number.
Especially for a small job, like for a small thing, right? If he just needs like 3 or 4 shingles, the guy's only charge $90 an hour. Like, I'd have a minimum fee for that for sure. I'd be like, $500. Doesn't matter how many hours. Unless
we
it's
have
more
a
than
minimum
5
fee.
hours.
The part that's the best about this is Dale sells this. Dale sells a labor rate at $90 an hour, and he sells a minimum charge. Somebody's like, I want a 4x4 deck. And it's like, well, that's doesn't work out to $500. So it's $500 now.
Yeah. So, but this like, it was like, I was like, boy, oh boy, like even people within the industry you'd think would understand why something is $90 doesn't understand why something's $90. So I was like, I need to dig into this bit, and we need to do a podcast about why contractors charge what they charge and what's in that number. Because like the reason people have a reaction to this is like, oh, it must be nice to make $90 an hour. I don't make $90 an hour at my job. How are you going to make it? And I am educated, is what the average person would probably think, right?
Sure, yeah.
They'd still shit on
because
the trade.
They have this idea that to be a trade, you got to be dumb, or
Right.
you can't get a real job. It's like, I really like the push that Mike Holmes is on right now and has been for the last few years about like debunking.
Mike Rowe.
Well,
Did you
both.
know?
No, Holmes
sure.
right now is doing, he posts almost daily about like why it's good to be in the trades, and, you know, and don't pay me for my work, pay me for my knowledge. And it's like something that you don't have, right? You don't have knowledge. And so anyways, it's just like, there is this like stigma that to be in the trades, you need to be not able to get a university degree. And it's like, well, that's silly.
Well, and part of that, so I think it's Mike Rowe, who's the Dirty Jobs guy.
Yes.
I believe I heard his thing recently, and I'd heard it before, but it reminded me that he's got these like, what do you think was going to happen? What do you think was going to happen with, we're talking labor shortages in the trades?
Yeah.
He's like, what do you think was going to happen? For years now, for decades, we've basically told kids that these jobs are not even worth looking at because we took them all out of the schools. You don't get mechanic shop anymore. You don't get woodworking class. You don't get all these things. Like, we used to have this in schools, and now we've been telling kids through our actions that these jobs don't matter. They're not even worth considering in high school.
Exactly.
So now we have a shortage. Weird.
Yep. Your guidance counselor told you to not go in this path.
Yeah. Everybody was told to get a university degree.
That's the stupid.
How's that going?
I have a university degree, and
with
that's the
big
biggest
ass
waste of money.
student loans, or maybe not because they got forgiven by tax dollars.
So
anyway,
Holmes posted just like whatever this was a few days ago. If you want to address the need to sustainably build more homes and increase the housing supply, we'll have to first address training and making sure we have the skilled trades of tomorrow to make it right the first time. Yeah. And I think that any proposal to accelerate housing needs to include funding to support building solid careers in skilled trades. And then the skilled trades are the backbone of our country. It's not that they are more important than other jobs, but they need to stop being looked at as if they are less important.
100%.
And like, there's just every single person that has a job or a home or if you live under a roof, a contractor put that together for you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how important it is. Yep. Not every person has had an x-ray, and not every person has been to a dentist. But if you have lived under a roof, that was a skilled trade that put that together for you.
Yeah. So like this is a different episode altogether. Maybe this is what the next episode should be.
Fine. Let's do it now.
No.
Scrap this one.
No, I'm taking this in another direction, but it's related to Mike Holmes' recent postings. And so he recently posted, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what it said, but the tone of the post, or the gist of the post was, how do we employ more women in the trades?
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading through the comments, and they went from like, the comments were anywhere from like helpful to silly.
Yep.
I replied, hire them.
I saw your reply. That was it. Hire them.
That's how you get more women in the trades. Because I think that's the biggest roadblock, is that a lot of people won't hire women. It's not that they're not interested in it. I know that we're maybe a little bit different, but in our stores, like, and some of our reps, when they've asked, or even the sales training people that we talked to recently, is like, well, how many women do you employ? How many? And it's like, actually all of our Saskatoon sales team is women. Really?
Yeah.
And like half of our leadership team is women. Really? Like, that's can't be normal. It's not. But we didn't go out there and make an effort to go find women. It's just that when they applied, if they were good, we just hired them. It didn't matter that they're women. It's like, we're looking for good people.
But there's still some like really shitty shopping experiences that happen for our team in Saskatoon. Like, have they told you about this?
Like, I don't know. I've heard of all the stories, but
so they have had male homeowner customers come in and be like, I want to work with a man. And like Robbie and Michaela are like, well, sorry, we don't have, like, none of our sales team are men. It's just
have
us.
those around here.
Right. We don't keep that kind. Right. So, and he left. He didn't shop with us. He never bought anything.
So that's okay.
Right. And that's what and so I show up, and Robbie and Michaela are like, oh, it's too bad you weren't here. Like, had you been here, this customer came in. I was like, actually, good. I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah.
Had I witnessed that, so let's pretend he actually started working with Michaela, and then I walked in the door, he would have naturally gravitated towards me. He would have been like, "Burr," and I would have watched that happen, and then I would have been mad. I would have wanted to not help him.
Yeah.
And I would have been trying to like excuse myself. So anyways.
But the reason I went so like and I was being kind of, I don't know, facetious or whatever do you want to use. I was being kind of like wise asses a little bit, but not really. But because some of the answers...
Joking, not joking.
Yeah, kind of. Because some of the comments and responses some of the people were overthinking it so much.
Yes.
It's like, you've got to do this and this and this and this and this and this. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know that you really do. And some people are like, well, I think having like pink tools and shit. And these people are being serious. I think pink tools would attract more women. Come on. Either pretend it's as simple as just hire them, or like put more effort in than pink tools.
Yeah. Do you ever talk with Catherine from Premier Outdoor?
No.
So occasionally she'll post different like sexist things that people have said to her in the industry. And it's just like, so typically that elicits a response from me. Like, she'll post something like that, and then I'll message her and just be like, I can't believe you have to deal with this shit. It's just like, it's so astonishing to me. Right.
Yeah.
You don't need to do pink tools, and you don't need to do like different workplace policies where you're like, try and train all of your guys to not say swear words because it's offensive to women. Women that work in the trades or want to work in the trades understand the environment they're coming into. So they'll just want normal hammers and normal tape measures, and they'll probably swear as well. And if somebody does swear, they won't be offended or hurt or need to leave. They know what they're getting into. And the trades are just a rougher environment.
So I was going to say, that's,
so it is.
If we want to talk about real action, it's like, remove some of that, honestly, I don't know. Some job sites can be quite toxic. I don't want to use the word toxic masculinity, but I was trying to find a different word for that, because I often think that toxic masculinity is used inappropriately to
Correct.
To demonize just masculinity in general. And
right.
I don't think that's fair. But
like when it's said on The View.
Right. Sure. Yeah. But there absolutely is such thing as that. And so certainly I don't want a woman to take a job in a job site and then ends up just getting like absolutely berated by a bunch of piece of shit men that have no barriers and no, like,
have you ever witnessed
you don't
that?
want that either. Well, I haven't worked on job sites like that, so.
Yeah, like neither have I. I can't even imagine. And I think that if I was,
I 100% believe that exists, but
Sure.
I've just personally not experienced it.
I believe they exist as well. But then it's like now it also falls back onto other decent human beings. So whether they were berating somebody because they were a woman or they were berating them because they were like whatever, Portuguese, I just wouldn't tolerate that. I'd be like, stop. Like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah. And I also, never mind. This might be its own podcast, but.
Are you making notes about all the other subsequent podcasts
no.
that have come out of this?
No, I mean, that would have been part of this one. I was going to go deeper into it, but I was like, I don't know that I need to. Maybe we should just get on with our topic. We're 20 minutes in. So $90 an hour, Wade.
That's outrageous. Who makes $90 an hour?
Not me.
Nope.
But here's the funny thing. When I used to work at my previous office job, my corporate gig, I was making, I don't remember what it worked out to, like $35, $37 an hour.
Whew.
But my loaded...
And you gave that up, eh?
My loaded labor rate, which was in documents somewhere. Loaded labor rate was $89 or $92 an hour. So
that's what the corporate thought you were worth an hour.
Right. If they're going to bill out my time, that's what they need to bill because that covers all sorts of crap.
Okay.
All my
what would it cover?
And everything. And trades are no different. They also have a loaded labor rate. There's a lot that goes into that $90. You don't get to take home $90. But the problem I'm saying is that people make $35 an hour, and then somebody says, I'm going to charge you $90 an hour to do this thing. And you're like, that's crazy. I only make 35. No, you get to keep 35. But you're worth 90 as well.
Yeah.
And then you get your tax taken off. But I'm saying, like, the company pays you the 35.
Yeah.
It costs them an additional $60 an hour to provide you with all the tools that you need to do your job.
Yep. They build you out at 90.
Right. For the tradesperson, they're the same thing. The company and the employer are the same person. Like, so it's all built in there. So,
you know what else might lead to some of this, though?
What's that?
It's cash jobs.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of like this whole, like the industry kind of shoots himself in the foot because there are guys that'll do this, or there's like other people, not to name, but like typically teachers, firefighters, policemen, shift workers who like Evraz plant guys who get weeks off at a time.
Yeah.
They start these side jobs and then they just do them for cash.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden the industry where people are like, well, I got this one guy, he come over here do it for $50 an hour cash. Now you want 90, you want twice as much as him. Why?
Yeah.
Like, well,
because he's not a real business with real expenses.
This is why. Yep.
And that's okay if that's all you're looking for is somebody to do a side gig and you don't have to worry about anything else, like a warranty or quality of work or any of that stuff, then side gigs can be okay, I guess. But you have to understand that's black market stuff. Like,
that's right.
Black market's always cheaper.
Yeah. Did you get your engagement ring off the black market?
Yeah. Should have.
You should have.
Could have got you half as much.
To half its price.
Okay, so $90. So these are averages based on the interwebs. And so everyone's a little bit different. But of that $90 an hour, the actual labor, the take-home pay of the contractor, what that contractor is going to pay himself or herself is about 30% on average. So
sounds fair.
When I'm charging $90 an hour, what I'm actually paying myself is $27. Suddenly, that alone seems a lot more reasonable to people, right? Because it's more relatable to what they make.
Yes.
It's like
What's actually
$27.
less
I
than-
would pay you $27 an hour. Yeah, sure. I'll pay you that part.
Yep.
Here's the rest of it.
Okay.
Overhead, 15%. So $13.50 of that on average is going to go towards covering things like potentially office rent or a mortgage if they actually have a building, utilities, insurance, equipment depreciation, software licenses, etc. So all the things that they require to operate the business above and beyond that you may not see.
So when you worked your corporate job, you certainly didn't have to have a subscription to QuickBooks to do your accounting or invoicing.
Right. There was a lot of software tools we used that the company paid a lot of money for that I don't know what they paid. And I worked in an office in a giant building that certainly cost a lot of money.
Wasn't free.
And to heat and everything else. That's the overhead component of it that I would never see as a employee of a Crown corporation.
Nope.
But it's certainly on the books for the company.
Well, the company,
Taxes. So corporate taxes are going to dig into this. Depending on the country or region, self-employed individuals might need to set aside a significant portion of their earnings to cover income taxes, Social Security, and other required payments. So about 20%. or $18 of that 90.
I love paying taxes, you know?
Two ways to look at it.
I hate it's the worst thing. I had a conversation with
Nobody enjoys it.
I had a conversation with a guy one time, and they were talking about how like Trump had to pay $750 in taxes one year. And there's two ways to look at that. And it's like, you have an amazing accountant. Like, he got it all the way down to $750. And the other way to look at it is like, what's wrong with your accountant? Like, how did he not get that to zero?
$750
right?
more.
And so I laughed and I said, I was like, as soon as you said that number, what happened in my head was like, well, how did that not end up at zero? You're so close.
So
20%.
I remember a conversation we had, I don't know when this would have been, a couple years into our business here.
Yeah, year two.
And it was like, we owed corporate income tax. It was
Yeah.
like, we had our taxes done, and the accountant's like, you guys owe $14,000, whatever it was. It was like, how? We're not making any money. Like, we can't even pay our bills here at the end of winter. Like, we're not even sure how we're going to make it through. How do we owe the government money when we can't pay our own bills? And it's like, well, yeah, but technically on paper, you did make money. It's all tied up in inventory and the equipment you bought and everything else. Like, it's not cash, but you earned money that gets taxed.
Yep.
It's like, that's crazy. And I remember you were saying that you were complaining to your dad about that. And you're like, this is such bullshit. Like, we pay this money in tax. And your dad's like, I don't hate paying tax. It means I made money. If you don't pay any tax, it means you didn't make any money to pay tax on. It's like, well, I guess so. From that perspective, it's like, if you have tax to pay, you earn something. So, sure. Next up is materials. And so this isn't talking about the materials for that specific job. That'll generally be charged separately. But the materials like the tools or the consumables that contractors have to purchase and use on job sites that aren't specific to that job site necessarily. A lot of contractors will buy screws in bulk, or drywall paper tape in bulk, or just they have some things on hand all the time that they will need and they'll need to consume, even like blades for their knife, or tape measures they have to consume and go through, or pencils, or all these things that they have to burn through that need to be, somebody got to pay for them. That stuff. They got a trailer full of stuff that's not charged to your job that they have to replace and maintain and use on your job.
Sometimes you get like plumbing, or you would see this if you took your vehicle in to get repaired, you'll have shop supplies.
Sure. Yep.
Right. And that's like,
plumbing's not an awful one though. Like, you're going to do a little plumbing job. You're probably not going to buy more primer and plumbing glue cans for that job because you have it already on hand.
Right. I just know that like if I've ever hired a plumber or an electrician, there's just like a shop supply charge. It's just $100. It's not like significant or crazy, but
but some might just put it, if they're charging you just a straight labor rate, it's worked in here. It's got to be 10% of it. So $9 is covering $9 an hour is covering some of those consumables that they have to have on hand.
Yep.
You're going to use in your job. Rags, all that, cleaning supplies, all that crap. Next up is marketing and advertising. So you didn't find them by accident. Like, you might have got referred, maybe, but it's possible. But if they're running a legitimate business, they have a fairly significant expense in finding their clientele.
Like, maybe you were referred, but no doubt your next action was a Google.
Yeah, sure.
I guess I better check in on these guys. Like, of course, Shane told me to use this plumbing company, but like, I'm going to check by myself and make sure that they're okay.
And you might have been referred, but the person who referred them to you may have found them through their website or through a sign or through something like. At some point, they had to spend some money to be known. Yep. You can't just decide you're going to do something one day and then people just find you automatically. It takes a lot of money to build up a brand.
Yep.
They're saying 5%. So $4.50 of that 90 is around marketing and advertising. Insurance, liability insurance, health insurance, other types of insurance. 5% again. So another 5% goes towards insurance. So another $4.50 they don't ever get to see. Just there just in case. Retirement was something that was listed on here, and this could be considered profit, I guess. Your retirement might come into your profit, but another 5% for retirement. So planning. Or I wouldn't even, like, maybe not even retirement, but like a rainy day fund of some sort. It's like it may get used for retirement if you don't need to tap into it, but you may need it for other things.
Yeah, you might get it. You might hit a slow spell. You might have interest rates jump really high.
You might get burned by a client who doesn't pay you or something.
You will get burned by a client who doesn't pay you.
So that's another 5%. So $4.50 out of that. Training and education, staying updated in the field often requires ongoing training or certifications. So certainly, depending on what trade it is. Sometimes this is required training. Other times it's just like, it's good to have if you want to stay on the top of your game.
Yep.
3%, so $2.70. I don't know that if they're in these numbers, if they're considering like things that we do, like going to trade shows or going to industry events. It's probably not even really included in that. That could be a chunk of it not accounted for too. There could be a bigger chunk of this, but so another $2.70 is making sure that the person who's showing up to do your work actually knows what they're doing because they've been trained and certified in doing it.
Yeah.
Business fees and licenses. This can include permits, licenses, and fees related to the specific industry or locale which they operate in. Business fees and licenses, 5%. $4.50.
That seems pretty high, but
could be. Depends on who you are, I guess, or where you are.
What your fees are. Yeah, where you are. Yeah.
Like some, I think California, like you have to actually take a court or like be a certified, get a certification to be a contractor, whereas here you don't. So they might have higher expenses there for these than
I believe Quebec has that as well too. You have to do some courses to take.
Yep. But even just like, so you'll have your, like your business license to the city. If you're not operating out of, like, I don't know what it's like everywhere, but here it's like if you're operating out of business, out of an actual building that's owned by the business, you don't have to pay a city municipal license fee. But if you're operating out of your house, which a lot of contractors would, just operate out of a van, they would have to pay that fee and business registration fees and all these other fees.
Yep.
And finally, at the end of this whole thing, which is the one that people are always upset about, is people making too much money or any money, is profit. And on average, 2%. $1.80 per hour is what these poor little tradespeople charging you $90 an hour that you think is asinine. They're actually keeping $1.80 of it at the end of the day. They pay themselves and all these other things, and they get to keep $1.80 at the end of the day. 2%. And that's not crazy. And that, like I said, we can maybe work the retirement in there and call it 7% combined for those two things.
Sure.
But,
some of the wage is probably in that as well, like depending on how you think of that. If you're self-employed, but the easiest way to think about it is if you own the company, like Shane owns the company, and then you send Wade out to do the work.
Yep.
So your wage is that's what I get, right? Yep. And the 2%, the $1.80, that's what you get for being the business owner.
Yep.
It's like, well, okay, if somebody sends out a contractor and bills that out at $90 an hour, they get to keep $1.80. Well, you'd be like, you'd probably actually feel a little silly about that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why would you do that? Why would you even go to work? Why would you manage all of this racket and these people if you're only making $2 an hour?
Yeah.
I love it. Nobody would hire me.
I know that not everybody in the world is going to hear this little podcast, but I think this is like, I hope that people hear this and it clicks a little bit and it's like, oh, okay, well, like maybe 90 is not so crazy then.
Almost for sure
really
one person would hear that and think about it.
Yeah.
We lost a few at the 20-minute mark when we hadn't started. They're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. But that's kind of loosely how you get to these wages that you think sound, okay, first of all, it's not a wage. The $90 an hour is,
that's the problem. People think it's a wage.
It's not the wage. Yeah.
Because it comes to them at $90 an hour. And they're like, well, that's per hour. If you gave that to them as a job price, it's like, this will be $340.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yep. So really, when you like take 30% of the number they're giving you, and that's what that person's actually getting paid. The rest of it is paying for all sorts of things. It's just the cost of doing business, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So hopefully when people see that now, they're not so shocked by it, and they can have a little bit more empathy for the person that's billing that as not just a greedy son of a bitch. It's just what it costs them to run their business. And at bare minimum, to make $1.80 at the end of the hour.
Yeah. Bizarre.
And so that's, I think, like in the trades, that's pretty common to have like sub double digit profit margins at the end of the day. Like 5% common.
Yeah.
10%, if you're doing really well, you might be able to get there. If you're getting more than that, then you're running a super tight ship. But it is what it is.
There's also probably some like contractors that could really give this some thought about like when you're billing yourself out. Just take this. Like if you don't have a formula right now as to what a loaded labor rate is, just write these numbers down.
Yep.
and then do that for a year and see how it goes.
So that's how so many guys and gals go out of business, because they don't understand the whole what goes into the.
They don't account for the 60% of the rate.
Right. They account. They're like, I want to make 20 $7 an hour. So
Yeah.
like, so I'll charge 30. That gives me a little bit extra. Wow. Like you've lost, like, no, you're out of business in not too much time.
Just as soon as you were
didn't
able
put
to
gas
do
in your
invoicing,
vehicle.
you're out of business as soon as you get your invoicing done. But you won't be able to get your invoicing done because you're the lowest guy on the block by 60%. So you're slammed. So now you're just working all the time.
I was going to say, that's not even in here, but maybe that's part of overhead. Is like, you just like, as soon as you submit your invoicing, too, the accountant that you have to pay. So I guess that could be worked into
It's
overhead.
probably an overhead.
But anyway, there's a lot that goes into it. And so hopefully that helps to, I don't know, just like stay off your contractor's case a little bit. The ones that are charging what seems like a lot of dollars are the ones who know their numbers. And if
Yes.
you're getting somebody who's charging something that seems reasonable to you, like, oh, you're only $30 an hour, I guess hire them while you can, because they won't be around long because they just don't understand the business. And unfortunately, it's such a common thing in the trades.
Yep.
There's so many people that get into business that do so because they love the trade. They
Well,
love working on plumbing things. They're not business people. They don't understand all that stuff. They just know how to put pipes together.
Yeah. Even today when we were out for lunch, the contractor was just like, I'm not a good businessman.
Yeah.
I just like building things.
Yeah.
And so that's what he does. He's able to like continue to plug on because he's really, really price conscious and he's like very aware of saving money.
Yeah.
But self-admittedly was like not a good businessman.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
Yeah.
I build
And most contractors, when they start out, wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Some of them figure it out before it's too late, and most do not.
Yeah.
So if you can make it 5 years and you can catch on to this stuff and be like, holy smokes, I am losing money here. I need to adjust. I need to whatever. All of a sudden, the guy who was charging $40 an hour, he's at 90 eventually because he figured it out and he's like, I can't keep going at this rate.
Yes.
Like we sell materials to contractors. Obviously, we see all kinds of contractors. Ones that run really good businesses that are profitable and they've been around a long time, have multiple crews. We see other ones who don't pay their bills, and the reason they don't pay their bills is because they're not charging enough to their clients.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, because they don't understand the whole thing. They just want to go build decks.
Yep.
So it's tricky, but I know people get a lot of flack for what they charge. And, another thing I see all the time in the Facebook groups, especially the local ones, when people are looking for local businesses to support, and often they're looking for contractors, plumbing and heating or HVAC or
Certainly
deck builders or whatever. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way, but people are always like, I'm looking for somebody to come out and do this, but for a reasonable price who doesn't charge an arm and a leg. It's like, when that's how you open up. Like, what does that mean exactly? Do you think that everybody that's in that trade is just out to screw you? That's the platform from which you're beginning with.
Yeah, because people don't trust contractors.
Right.
Just ever.
Right.
Which
Because
is
they
unfortunate.
don't know the numbers either. And maybe the contractor doesn't either. But
Yeah.
So,
But as soon as somebody shows up and they're like, I don't know, if they look professional, if they show up in like clean clothes and are organized and present like a good quote, then for some reason people are okay accepting that, right? It's like the contractors that have showrooms are able to get $90 an hour. People pay them that all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you walk into the building, they understand
you can see
there's going to be overhead. But if you show up in your truck and that's all you have is just your truck, then your truck should be clean and so should you.
Yeah, and that's certainly like 90 is just a number out of the thin air here. Some guys are going to be charging $200 an hour.
Yeah.
And some guys are going to be charging $50 an hour. And maybe the 50 guy is profitable, but it's because he's driving an old truck and he's not advertising. He's just doing work on the side and whatever else. Like maybe he's found a way to be profitable at $50 an hour.
Yeah.
What I know for sure is that a high majority of the time, if somebody's out there screwing people and charging too much money, they also won't be around for long.
Yes, this is true.
You don't get away with that for very long.
Yeah.
It's there's no industry that's just like monopolized down to one guy and you can charge whatever he wants. Like eventually you're out of business if you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
So when people are like, somebody's not going to charge, like, don't, those people aren't really out there. Like, most businesses have figured out that they can only charge a certain amount and they need to charge a certain amount. And that the gap between those two numbers is not very big. It's like, I know I need to charge 85 or else I'm out of business. And I know I can't charge more than 100 or else I'm not going to get jobs.
Yep.
So I landed at 90 because it's just like slightly profitable, but the phone's still going to ring.
Yep.
It's like there's a sweet spot that everybody's going to find. Most guys are operating within it. The ones that aren't are probably on the side of not being
They're
in
on-
business long
yeah, they're
versus being too high.
Either edge of learning is what they are.
Exactly. So, did people learn today? Hopefully. I don't know.
There's a chance.
We'll see. Okay, Deck Expo's coming up, so we'll see you in a couple weeks here. Looking forward to it. Peace out, everybody.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.